Hello everyone, myself Dr. Bharti, Principal, Faculty of Physiotherapy, RPIIMS Campus, Karnal. Today, topic of discussion is motor learning and motor control. It is somewhat very interesting topic because whenever we do any task, any motor task, we must have learned that topic. So, motor learning, control and development represents three distinct approaches to understand what the motor behavior is. So, motor learning is that acquisition of skill through practice and experience. What does that acquisition means? It's a modification of skill through practice and the experience. When we learn something else or when we learn some task, so we must have control over that task. So when motor learning has been done, so concept is like motor control. That is the how that organization process underlying that motor behavior. So motor control is nothing but the control and the control of that particular process to do the motor behavior. And then we come to the motor development. Motor development is after the motor learning and the motor control process has been done, then age-related process change the motor behavior of that particular task. So what is that in detail about what is the motor learning? Motor learning is a permanent change in the behavior that occur as a result of practice and the experiences which are not attributable to maturation, which is just as a result of practice or the experience. The statement emphasizes that learning results from practice which are not directly observable, which are experienced through the practice or the experience like particular task, and learning changes are inferred from the performance changes. As initially we become the trainer and some errors are there in that particular motor task, but whenever we masters in that particular task and with the repetition of that particular task or the practice, we must have performance change and we become master in that particular behavior. So next, learning is the internal phenomena that cannot be observed directly. Means we can't observe that learning process, but it's an internal process that can be seen or that can be inferred through a particular task performance. So for example, as we like smile infers happiness, crying infers very happiness situations or some sadness, red face infers embarrassment or anger, a yawn in the class that felt that person is bored or tired in that particular task. So learning can be observed directly, cannot be observed directly. So it's another name of that motor learning. It's a skill learning. Skill learning means it can be observed through the skill changes. As we become mastered in that particular skill with the experience of with the like process of practice or the experience, we become learners. So it's a skill learning that can be inferred in our motor behavior. So Skin and the Lee are the psychologists and the kinesiologists who define that motor learning is a set of processes, which is not one process, it is a set of internal process associated with practical and the experiments that lead to a relative permanent change in the memory, or it's the capability for producing a skill action, so that motor learning, control and the motor development work simultaneously. Now, the concept arises that what is the role of particular individual in some particular task or particular environment. Can the environment can affect the motor learning or not? Answer is yes. Task, particular individual, task and the environment that work in interaction, that work simultaneously to one particular behavior. So there are different aspects of motor learning, like we have a different classification of motor skill first, then classification of learning, then there are different theories behind that and how that motor learning occur in different stages. Like initially when we learn the task, it become like we are like so many errors or we required that amendment in that particular task. So when we remove that errors or when we do amended in that particular task, so we become master in that particular task. So in later videos we must discuss that how that motor learning become transferred to some learning. It will we learn something about theories behind that motor learning, different classifications. So for this session we must learn that motor learning, control and the development, they work simultaneously. This is just about the introduction how motor learning occur, as it is the permanent change in the motor behavior. So that's all about the today's session. In my next video we must learn the classification and the theories behind that particular motor learning. Thank you so much.